Welcome to the Global Peace Film Festival Lives Online Conversation 2021 Festival Edition. Please join me, Kelly Devine, the Artistic Director, and Nina Strike, the Executive Director of the Global Peace Film Festival, in conversation with Rebecca Thomson, the filmmaker behind the film An Aquatic Community, which is part of our Free for All Shorts program, which you can stream during the streaming portion of our festival, which begins September 27th and ends October 3rd. I'll remind everyone that we do have a very limited in-person program, which begins September 21st and runs through September 26th. All the details, scheduling, and other information can be found regarding this program at peacefilmfest.org. And now let's welcome Rebecca. Hi, thanks for joining us from Australia.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me to have this opportunity to talk to you. It's very cool to sit here on my island in Tasmania talking to you in New York.
Yes, it's always fun to talk to people, and you're in tomorrow.
Correct. I'm in the future. I can tell you the future is very wet here. We've just had a bit of thunder.
We're gonna have rain a little later tonight as well. It's been a very wet summer here. So so let's start out. Rebecca, tell us about the film.
Yes, An Aquatic Community is a short documentary that I made last year during the pandemic, and it's a very gentle, reflective story about my local water aerobics class that I have actually attended quite over some years, and I got to know various people in the class. It tends to be more elderly people who do this class, and became aware that a lot of the people in the class had been doing it together for decades, 30 years, and became aware of what a beautiful friendship and community and support network this class was for the people involved, and decided I wanted to make just a short film that reflected that.
So Rebecca, you just mentioned that this is an aquatic class that you participate in, and that's how you came to know this lovely group of people. But when you decided, what was it, for people who haven't seen the film? I'm fortunate, I have seen the film, and I can say that you will be rewarded if you watch it to meet this group of people. Can you talk about, your approach and why you decided to make a film?
Yeah, so I had sort of dipped in and out of this class over many years, so I'd sort of had conversations with people in the class and was very aware that they were very social together, and they'd sing happy birthday to each other and have Christmas lunches together. But I'd get chatting to members of the class, and one of the characters in it, Stan, I actually talked to him one day, and I ended up crying because he was telling me his story, which was that his wife had passed away, and he was had to nurse both his sons, who both died. He nursed them to their grave, and he was telling me, I'm getting emotional talking about it, and he was just telling me basically that he probably wouldn't have even kept going if it hadn't been for this class, that members of this class had literally come and picked him up Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning to bring him to class, had checked in on him, and that support, which was different to his family support, he felt like he could be more honest with them. And I think that is the moment, just hearing that story, that's the moment where I thought there is a really lovely film here, and I would like to find a way to express this, because looking at this from the outside, it's just a really daggy exercise class for old people, is what a lot of people would think. And it looks incredibly daggy. Everyone wears these flotation belts and there's daggy music, and no one's particularly great at any of the moves. It all largely happens underwater, which is why people like doing it as well. But within the pool, there's something really important going on, and these amazing, quite profound social connections, that are profound for some of those people involved who, because they've lived long lives now, have all been through grief, big life events together. A lot of them are widows. So yeah, that was the moment where I thought I would really like to make a film about them, and I have.
And you have, and you really captured their camaraderie so beautifully. And I wonder,
Thank you.
From the moment that you did decide to pick up the camera, did your relationship with them change in any way? Were there any surprises? Were you surprised by anything that you learned as a course of actually filming them as opposed to just taking part in the class with them?
Well, I did get to know a few of them because there were some that I knew better than others, and they were the ones that I'd sort of talked to. But then I got to know a few of the other. I dug into the lives of some of the others who all have incredible stories in and of themselves, which I couldn't go into. I discovered in making it that they'd had a bit of locked heads with the Aquatic Centre a few times. They refer to it briefly in the film, but they'd gotten a couple of the instructors had been quite offended at times that people in the class were talking. And it had actually got to the point where they all had to sit together, have a meeting with management and talk about this. And these participants had to explain how important it was for them to be able to come into the class and talk. And it wasn't just about physical well-being, it was about their social and emotional well-being as well. It was equally important. And they obviously weren't meant to, intending to be rude, but people not realising, especially younger instructors, just not realising what it is like for an older person who lives by themselves. Yeah, so I learned a bit more about that, and actually now I hope the film is something that the Aquatic Centre can show their staff, and they will be able to understand what the class means to the participants.
Yeah, that's actually a really instructive thing to take away. You're right. In the film, they refer just a little bit about being too chatty sometimes. But one of the principal guides for developing our program is that we at the Global Peace Film Festival is that we're always looking for films and other artwork that can provide models or inspiration that people can take into their own lives and into their own communities to make the world a more peaceful, just place. And you really kind of hit on exactly what it was that attracted me to it, was this bit of intergenerational understanding and also understanding that there's more to the aquatic class than going through the moves.
Yes, a lot more. And that is at the heart of it. I don't think they would probably have stuck with it for this long if it had just been about the exercise. And which is what Stan, this man, was saying, that it's the people, and they were talking we shot this film over, I got a little bit of funding to make it from our local council, and then lockdown happened here, and of course there was no aquatic classes, but and then I managed to interview them just as we're coming out of lockdown, and they said they'd all had a list of names, and they would ring each other up. Every day they would make a point of ringing around other members of the class to make sure people were okay and to have a chat. And if someone doesn't come to class, they all, someone will check in and find out if they're okay. So it clearly is so much more than physical exercise, and that's what's kept them together and coming and makes it a community.
Well, that's what the one lovely thing that I'd like to bring in from our preliminary discussion is that you said you just came back from a birthday of one of the.
Yes, so Stan just turned 90 yesterday. And yeah, so they were having a lunch with 40, I think, members of that community were at that. But Stan was telling me, everyone wants to throw him a party. He's having a party on Saturday as well. It's going to be birthdayed out.
That's wonderful.
But he was delighted, and he told me again yesterday, actually, he told me how much he loved the film. They've all said that. They were all really delighted with it, which is probably the most important thing, because, I said to them, it's no small thing to have to watch yourself on a big screen, half naked, close up. And they dealt with that very well. But they all said, I got the most beautiful message from one of their daughters, actually, who was just said on behalf of the family just how grateful they were for this record of their mum, and just how they thought it captured the spirit and friendship, and how much they'd cried and shared it with everyone. So yeah, lots of lovely, I think it was received really well by them, and I've sent it around other aquarobics groups in the world, actually, because I thought other communities would enjoy it too, which they seem to have.
I'm so glad you mentioned showing it to them. I was going to ask you if they'd seen it and what they thought of it. So that's just delightful. So
yeah, such a relief.
So you've sent it around to other aquatic clubs. How can audiences support the film and what you're trying to do with it?
Well, it is. You could go to my website. They can share it with anyone that they think would enjoy it. I know I've been contacted by our local aging, what are they called? Active aging group, who've asked whether they can show it. So I'm so happy. I'm very free and easy with it. I just would love it to be out there and for people to enjoy it and get something positive from it. I think there's some really nice, I just think there's some really lovely nuggets of wisdom in it too, just some simple nuggets around friendship, which they say, things like, sometimes all you need to do is listen. You can't fix things for people necessarily, but you can just be there to hold space and listen. To be a good friend, you have to have good friends, you've got to be a good friend. I like that one from Yulia. So I think there are little sort of gems of wisdom there that, are great takeaways for anyone.
And finally, what's next for you?
Ooh, well, I literally just had a coffee with a couple of mothers who have children with very severe disabilities. And they do an amazing podcast, which I just came across, called Gin in a Mug, where they talk very, very openly, honestly, and with a lot of humour about their lives. And I'm talking to them about making a short film around that topic, because I just love how they talk about it, and they're very passionate about talking about the stuff that people are uncomfortable talking about. And I'm also about to shoot a proof of concept for a comedy TV series called Leather and Latex, about a mother and her adult daughter who lose their fortune and become dominatrixes. So there's something very different. Going into all sorts of strange headspaces with the projects.
Well, that sounds fascinating.
Indeed.
Yes,
I'll come back and talk to you about that another time.
Yes, that's very intriguing. And one of the things that Nina and I love about doing this film festival is that as filmmakers like yourself come into our orbit, we get to watch your progress and follow your work and share it with our Global Peace Film Festival community via our social media channels. So we will be sure and keep them updated on your work, because that sounds pretty, it sounds like a lot of fun.
Hope so. Well, thank you so much for your generosity. And I know I've organised a film festival, so I know how much time and effort and love goes into it. And as a filmmaker, I really deeply appreciate that there are other people in the world who put in all that time and effort into sharing our work.
Well, we really appreciate those kind words, and it's of course a collaborative process. You know, we rely on creative people like yourself to bring us these fantastic stories, so that we can organize our audiences to show that appreciation for your work. And so thank you. And for everyone who listened to this particular Glow, please be sure, if you want to learn more about Rebecca Thomson's work, go to RebeccaThomson.com.au. That's RebeccaThomson.com.au. And to find out all the information regarding the upcoming Global Peace Film Festival, please go to peacefilmfest.org. Thank you again, and we'll see you at the next Glow.